Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is another breaking news update for the 14th of May 2025. What's the news? Well, pretty interesting this one, and could have some fairly wide-reaching ramifications, because this is a case of Russia pushing the envelope again. It is reported that the Estonian military made an attempt to arrest a JAGUAR tanker of Russia's shadow fleet that was on its way to a Russian port under the flag of Gabon. A Russian Su-35 flew into the Estonian airspace to help the tanker out. Estonia accused Russia of violating its airspace and handed a note of protest to the Russian ambassador. Now, the Russians are, I'll show you the video in a second, but the Russians are claiming that this is the Russian media, as according to Max 24, the Estonian Navy and NATO aircraft attempted to seize an oil tanker of the Russian Shadow Fleet, I think it might be in a helicopter, which was heading to a Russian port, according to Russian media. However, a Russian Su-35 suddenly appeared in the sky, after which the Estonians decided not to continue with the assault on the tanker. This is threatening behaviour. I mean, they have the right to stop a ship in their national waters, and Russia do not have the right to send their fighter in to threaten the activity of the Estonians in the Estonian sovereign territory. So this is highly controversial. Let's look at the 1 minute 22 bit of footage here. There's a helicopter.
This is Estonian warship Papa 6732. Your request will be denied. Follow my instructions. Alter your course to 105 immediately. Over.
Yes. Yes. MiG. वो हमारे जस्ट ऊपर अभी सामने से हमारे ऊपर आ रहा है एयरक्राफ्ट है हाँ ड्रोन जैसा ही है ये.
So it looked like there was a helicopter to begin with, then a Russian jet, and then possibly a drone then. You heard them say drone there. And here is some kind of patrol vessel of the Estonians, I presume.
और वो टर्न कर रहा है. She's turning towards the stern of the vessel.
Ну давай, с разгона.
हाँ थोड़ा सा वीडियो बना रहे
Он же циркачи, да?
And that's all we have as far as I know. Sounds like one of the crew members there was Southeast Asian, possibly Indian or similar, and I presume the other chap was Russian there. But yeah, a jet sort of hanging around, possibly threatening. United 24 reports it like this: Russian Su-35 violates Estonian airspace during Shadow Fleet tanker incident. And we know that the Baltic states are going to get a little bit tighter on what's going on with the Shadow Fleet in the Baltic Sea. It says Russian forces scrambled a Su-35S fighter jet to provide cover for the tanker JAGUAR as part of the Russian Shadow Fleet after it entered Estonian airspace in the Gulf of Finland. Estonian officials reported today. The tanker, sailing under the flag of Gabon, was en route to the Russian port of Primorsk. The Estonian Navy attempted to detain the vessel, which was navigating through international waters. Actually, international waters there, so that's something different. Authorities deployed an Augusta Westland AW139 helicopter, an M28 Skytruck aircraft, and an EML Raju patrol boat to intercept the tanker. Estonian officials demanded the crew change course, but the tanker did not comply. JAGUAR eventually anchored near the island of Gotland in the eastern Baltic Sea. During the incident, the Russian Su-35S fighter jet reportedly lacked two-way radio communications with Estonian air traffic control, according to the Estonian Ministry of Defence. How convenient. The response to the airspace violation included Portuguese Air Force F-16 fighters stationed in Imari, who were tasked with protecting the Baltic airspace. On April the 11th, the Estonian Navy detained a tanker Koala, also linked to the Russian Shadow Fleet, which transports crude oil and petroleum products from Russian to third countries. Veikko Kommissar, head of the Finnish Border Guard Department's border service, noted, quote, over the past year, a lot of vessels have appeared in the Gulf of Finland that are passing without documents, and we can safely say that this is part of the Shadow Fleet. Earlier, the European Union blacklisted 189 vessels from Russia's Shadow Fleet as part of the latest sanctions targeting Kremlin oil revenues, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced today. So I don't know enough about international waters and regulations and what is, protocol and what is legally binding, etc., etc. But this does seem like a little bit more of an escalation than airplanes getting escorted out of airspace. I mean, this is threatening use of a Su-35S. And the understanding is that's Estonian airspace, even though we're talking about international waters. So where the plane was evidently, or one supposes, different to where the ship was. On Tuesday evening, a Russian Su-35 fighter jet violated Estonian airspace near the Juminda Peninsula, says Military News UA. The incident lasted less than a minute. The fighter jet had no flight plan and its transmitter was turned off, and apparently also wasn't engaged in two-way communication. So, yeah, this is potentially quite serious. I don't know where Estonia are going to take it, other than they've lodged a complaint with the Russian ambassador. But this is a fairly significant violation, and it could go either way. I mean, the Estonians could just kind of ignore it from now on, and just, what you don't want them to do is then start hanging back and not committing to engage with these shadow vessels. In fact, there is one source here saying, Europe needs to get some balls. Europeans need to grow some balls, says Igor Sushko. In 2015, a Turkish F-16 shot down a Russian Su-24 after it breached Turkish airspace for just 17 seconds. That caused a bit of a fracas, but actually it kind of blew over eventually. And that was a Russian Su-24 getting shot down. Today, Russian Su-35 breached Estonian airspace and interfered with an Estonian military operation to arrest a Russian oil tanker. So, maybe the Estonians could have been a little bit more forceful. I don't know. I don't know the details really of the situation and whether they just backed off because of that jet. I mean, what would the jet have done? It could have fired, I suppose, at that patrol vessel. But if they boarded that ship, then that Sukhoi is not going to fire at the ship. That's what it's trying to protect, right? So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's happened. Let me know what you think about that situation. It could be an interesting one. Could develop somewhat politically, and it could also, inform how these sorts of interactions might play out going forward. Anyway, speak to you soon. Toodle pips.